Welcome to If This Bar Could Talk, a podcast about bartenders and the stories they have to tell, as well as the storied history of cocktails, spirits, and bars. I'm Blair Beavers, and here's your host, Leanne Sims.
So our guest tonight is not a professional bartender, but like Blair and I, he does an awful lot to support the alcohol industry. So Chad White, who is the founder of the Ohio Rum Society, thanks for being on our show.
Thank you so much for having me, to you both.
So the Ohio Rum Society, it used to be the Central Ohio Rum Society, and you changed the name because it went way beyond Columbus, or?
It did. It started off as about 10 friends and family that I kind of forced into it. Kind of force feeding them a bunch of information, and then it eventually kind of exploded statewide. We're at about a little over 450 members across.
Oh wow, that's
across
awesome!
The entire state, yeah.
And how long you started in 2016? Is that right?
2016, August.
Wow. And so I read an article in Got Rum where you said that you describe rum as the underappreciated and ridiculously misunderstood spirit. What should we know and appreciate about rum?
Well, that there's such a vast world out there. I mean, in starting the Ohio Rum Society, the idea was to create a welcoming access point for folks that didn't realize what they're missing out on. Kind of like if you have the same people in the whiskey world that just stick to bourbon or just stick to scotch, they're not familiar with the history of rye and how American that is. That's really where I wanted to get started with that, creating an access point to, not necessarily try to convert people into rum drinkers and make them believers in cane spirits, but to at least appreciate the vast diversity of it. It's produced in over 90 different countries right now. America is steeped American history is steeped in rum as well. So really just want to create an access point to start to dive deeper with more people that had no idea that rum goes beyond some of those big brands that we hear, especially in a control state, have been kind of force-fed for so long, especially back since the college days. And when I say it's underappreciated, it's exactly that. People are like, I don't do rum, and I usually ask them why. And it's too sweet for me, or I made a lot of bad decisions in college that were associated with cane spirits. And so really the idea is reintroducing rum to them. Rum really is a comeback kid. It goes back over 300 years at this point. It's had its ups and downs, just like tequila. I like to liken it to agave spirits as well. And so now it's having a major, if not the most significant comeback in cane spirits history. And I really want people to at least be aware of it, because we never know how long it's going to last. And there's so many tasty cane spirits out there for people to try that invoke that, holy crap, I had no idea that this existed. Because most people, again, are prone to the Bacardis and the Captain Morgans of the rum world.
So there are different types of rum, right? The
Very
agricole.
many.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Like 100 or 50 or?
You can't. I can't necessarily put a number on it. It's in terms of classifications. Right now, there's a big push in the rum world for folks to reintroduce a new classification system into rum that's based off of production methods, very similar to my understanding of Scotch whiskey, and many of the whiskeys especially come in there from the UK. But the idea is just to answer your question, I look at rum in terms of the globalized spirit at this point. So, you have the agricole style, which is fresh pressed cane juice, as opposed to the molasses-based rums out there. But then when you dig down into those two, major categories, there's so many subcategories beneath them. When you look at the different geographic areas, the different Caribbean islands, islands off the coasts of both Africa and the Iberian Peninsulas, areas of the world that nobody would have ever associated with cane spirits. So there are many. Again, cachaça is another category of its own that Brazil fought very hard to make it its own category. So cachaça isn't considered a rum; it's considered a cachaça, but it is in origin a cane spirit, and that's just one of many different examples out there. But when I say agricole style, I want to be very careful on that because the French Caribbean island of Martinique fought very hard to get its own AOC, its own marcation of what makes French Martinique agricole special and unique from other rums out there that are produced from a sugarcane juice base material.
So I've followed you on Facebook, and you often write articles about, or I don't know if you call them bloggish type of things about what is I guess the flim-flammery of the labeling, like the aging. So rum isn't as regulated as American whiskey, say, right? Isn't it like the wild, wild west of spirits?
Well, one could say that when you look at when you have such a diverse spirit like rum, you have to classify it based on its origin. So, for example, to answer your question, yes, there are no global over-encompassing laws that regulate what makes rum a rum. The United States and Europe tend to have very, very different laws when it comes to what can make a rum, and a lot of producers down in the Caribbean are fighting to put some more clarification to that. Now, the beauty of rum, with it being such a globalized spirit, just like Scotch has its own regulations and rules, bourbon does, Tennessee whiskey, Irish whiskey, Canadian whiskey, they all have their own origins, their own characteristics, and their own regulations and laws that are associated with them that protect the producers, that protect the brands, that protect the actual category of whiskey and all of its subcategories. So with rum being such a global spirit, there are regulations associated with Cuban rum that make it officially a Cuban rum. Same with Jamaica. They just established a geographic indicator, or a GI. I don't know if you guys have those in whiskey. But Barbados is fighting for its own GI right now, which gives an over-encompassing classification as far as what makes a Barbados rum special or unique from a Jamaican rum or from a St. Lucian rum. So there are rules all around the world that just are associated with that particular geographic origin, if you will. So French Martinique agricole, AOC, Appellation de Contrôle. I don't speak French, so that's my best go at it.
That's pretty good.
They are that's a really, really good example as far as where regulations are going in terms of protecting geographic origin.
And it seems like that's more in line with how wine is done, or brandy, rather than whiskeys. Absolutely.
I've heard those associations many times between rum versus wine or rums versus whiskeys. And I haven't, the rum community hasn't been able to pinpoint or put its thumb on exactly what makes those things different and what route should rum go. But I can tell you right now that the biggest voices in rum, they're trying to go more the route of whiskey, hence the introduction and the constant proposing of a new classification system, which in the rum world, it's called the Gargano classification system, and it's based off of production as opposed to what we see today on a lot of menus. If you go to a lot of tiki bars, you'll see rums classified by color, which makes us rum heads cringe. But you also see them classified as styles, like Spanish style versus English style versus French style. Of course, those are the colonizing powers back in the day that created the New World as we know it today. So you see it classified in usually one of those two ways. And so they're trying to go the route, down the path of whiskey, which to me is a very respectable one. It respects history, but it respects the producer of all things. It actually tells a story as to what is in the bottle, where it came from. Is it all pot still? Is it a blend of pot and column still? Is it all column still? From which country? Because usually the more you know about these things, and that's why we talk about labels a lot, the more you know about these things, the more that you can actually figure out what's gonna happen when you pop that bottle open and pour yourself a Glencairn.
So today I was looking, just reading up on some things, and I never knew that there were 3 different ways to spell rum. I saw R-U-M, R-H-U-M, and then R-O-N-E-S. What is that?
So rum, that's the Spanish language. That's the Spanish version of rum. So Those aren't necessarily different styles of rum. They're just the different language. They're the different ways to say rum in the different languages. So rum is French. R-H-U-M is the French way. And then rum is the Spanish way. You'll see that in Mexico and further south into Central and South America. And, of course, the Iberian Peninsula.
And rum is literally made everywhere, like Barbados, Jamaica, Martinique, Cuba.
Mm-hmm. So anywhere that you can grow and cultivate and harvest sugarcane, you can actually, from there you can make a rum agricole, because rum agricole is very special in that once you harvest the cane, once you press the cane, you have to you ferment it almost immediately. It has to go to the still within 24 hours, otherwise the cane juice spoils. So Hawaii is doing a lot of agricole styles, Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, are all doing a lot of agricole styles. But to answer your question, Leanne, anywhere that you can import molasses and therefore ferment and distill it, you can make rum. So that's why you're seeing a lot of great rums coming out of New England right now. There's a renaissance in American rums again. And I'm actually trying to work with the folks up at Cavalier to see if we can make a case with the state for some of these brands that are not too far away, like Ipswich, Massachusetts. We have a great distiller over in Pittsburgh with Maggie's Farm Rum. I don't know if you guys made it to that one. It was our first ever at Let Us 7 Matchsticks. Mm-mm. They're doing some pretty interesting things there too. I think they're called Allegheny distillers. But yeah, to answer your question, anywhere in the world that you can import molasses, you can make rum.
I love molasses. It's a Southern thing. I've always had molasses my whole life, like in baked beans, and I have a great molasses cookie recipe. How do I know when I go to the liquor store what is a good rum and what is not? So let me just throw out some names to you, and you tell me if it's good. How about the Kraken?
The Kraken. So what I try so hard to do is my wife keeps me honest in these cases, because you guys are whiskey connoisseurs, right? And at some point you were drinking at some point in your lives things that you probably wouldn't want to even admit nowadays, right? Kind of like those of us that were drinking a lot of Captain and Cokes in college, right? We didn't realize then, but we joke now and say that Captain is to rum as Fireball is to the whiskey connoisseur. It kind of makes any of us that love spirits, Fireball might make us cringe a little bit. But Kraken, again, I'm not here to throw shade at anybody that produces any rums out there or anybody that enjoys a good Kraken and ginger ale. It's not, if you throw that on my face for free, I'm not going to necessarily throw it back in your face. But Kraken is, it's basically much like a lot of the mass-produced, industrialized rums out there, the Krakens, the Captain Morgans. Those are two really good examples. So I'll pair those together. Basically, what they do with those is they distill multiple times. They distill a cane spirit down so much to the point where it's almost pure, like a vodka. We call it a cane vodka, jokingly. Mm. And then what these companies do is that they'll add a bunch of artificial flavoring, some glycerol, some sugar, and in Kraken's case, they add a lot of color to it to give it that black, squid ink quality to it. And they call it, a blackstrap molasses, or they call it a blackstrap rum, or they call it a black rum, which in any case, anybody that's a rum or a spirits aficionado knows that actually isn't really a thing. So what they did there was just tried to, Cruzan, I think they were the first to color their rums with black coloring and call it a blackstrap rum. Just because it gave bartenders something kind of fun to play with if they wanted to create some sort of a dark or a black cocktail. And that's what Kraken essentially is. It is not by any means an artisanal craft rum.
Huh. So I picked up some rum for this podcast, and I had some rum in our cupboard from I don't even know what, probably mojitos from 12 years ago or something. But so I have Bacardi 151.
There's a very good reason that's still gathering dust in your
What cracks me up is there's a fire warning on the label.
I was about to say, those are, the Bacardi 151. Gosh, you guys remember Harry Buffalo parties back in the day. That's about all that was good for. Was really bad hangovers, lots of ethanol. You open that thing up and you almost feel hungover almost immediately because basically they make those on highly industrialized multiple columns where it's just stripped of all of rum's greatness, all the congeners, all the esters. And in those cases, they might age them in barrels for a couple months just to get a little color in there. But all 151 is good for nowadays is lighting things on fire in tiki drinks. Literally,
Looks cool.
It looks awesome. It's got a great effect.
Oh, so that's what they put in the lime
the
wheel.
little lime boats.
Yeah,
Yep.
little lime boats.
So typically
set
they'll
on
do.
fire.
They used to do 151 a lot for that. Now people are getting a little more hip. They'll start to use lemon oils in that case because it burns a lot longer. It's not quite as dangerous and volatile as a Bacardi 151. I don't even believe they still actually make 151. I'd be surprised.
Well, we have a bottle right there.
Hang on to it. That might be worth something one of these days.
But so how about Plantation 3 Star? Is that good?
Plantation is wonderful. A lot of rum purists, if you will, they're not huge fans of Plantation because the president, Alexander Gabriel, who Oars, I've actually met him before. He's awesome. I met him down in New Orleans at Tales of the Cocktail. Very humble dude, knows his stuff, got his start, kind of cut his teeth in the cognac business out there in France. Excuse me. And we're actually going to feature him this year, hopefully this summer. And he's going to give a seminar on Plantation, where it started from a rum brand and where it's going. And Plantation got a bad rap among the rum purists because even though they were very transparent about it, pretty much from the get-go, they do add what they call in France dosage. If you guys are familiar with champagne, especially in France, they do add a lot of sugar into the expression before bottling. It's to provide balance. It's kind of as they say in France, especially Alexander Gabriel, he likens it to adding salt to a good cut of steak. You don't always do it, but certain cuts of steak call for certain amounts of salt. So in bottling their rums that were sourced from all over the Caribbean especially, and also Central and South America. I have plantation rums from Peru. I have them from Trinidad. I have them from Jamaica. And they're really well done. They're excellent. They are good expressions of those origins. Mm-hmm. But again, the purists hate the fact that plantation could take a rum from those very proud rum-producing countries and add sugar to it and then yet still call it a Jamaican rum. Because Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, Guyana, they actually do traditionally add some sugar to some of their rums. But the Jamaicas, the Barbados, they're very proud of the art of distillation. They're very crafty about that, and they don't add any adulteration to their rums. So with Plantation 3 Star, it's fantastic. They created it to be an ideal tool for bartenders to make daiquiris. And it does make a hell of a daiquiri. I do believe that they have some sugar added to it. So I usually tell people, if you're okay with that, just dial back a little bit on your simple syrup. Mm-hmm. I do use quite a few plantation rums and other rums that have been given to me that I wouldn't call a sipper by any means, like a Diplomatico Exclusivo Reserva. They actually add 40 grams per liter of sugar to that rum before they bottle it.
Wow.
Just because that's a big brand name, and they're playing into what they feel the market wants, right? So here in America, especially, people love the smoothness of bourbon, right? If you're not a bourbon connoisseur, you like bourbon because of the smoothness that you think comes from either quality and or the aging from the barrel. So some producers, in some parts of the world, they traditionally will add sugar to their expressions to give it that kind of smooth, glycerol-y mouthfeel. So that's why I always tell people, if you're using something that is known to have sugar in it, and that's, again, part of the reason we have Oars is to not only have these events almost monthly, but also to share as much information as possible. And clearly you guys have had access to that and looked at that. But Plantation 3 Star is great. Their 5 Star is fantastic. It's mainly, I believe it's from Barbados. So a solid representation of Barbadian rum, but also with a little sugar added as well. But the nice part about Plantation is that they are transparent about it. And that's what we always say in Oars, drink what you love, but know what you're drinking.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Well, we as Ohioans, we've been closed out to the spirits game for so long because we are a control state. There are those of us that really, like you guys, we love going down to the party stores down in Kentucky because they have quite a better selection there than we do here in Ohio proper. So I like to at least inform people as much as possible because we are at a disadvantage to the New Yorks and the San Franciscos in that sense.
Okay. So the daiquiri happens to be one of my all-time favorite cocktails, and I didn't know it was. Yeah. I had never had, like when I thought of daiquiri before I met a good bartender, I thought it involved a blender and, like a slushie. And then when I was introduced to a classic daiquiri, it's one of my all-time favorite cocktails. Although Barb at the Bottle Shop would say there is a place for a blender and some cocktails if done right, but I think she's magic. She makes everything taste better. So.
She is a rock star. One of my favorite meetups ever was with Barb and JT over there at Bottle Shop.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And it was all focused on daiquiris, believe it or not, coincidentally.
So at this point in our program, we usually pause and make a cocktail, but we're not going to do that today. We are going to open this bottle of Plantation that I bought and taste that. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have a sip of some good rum.
Looking forward to it. Up spirits.
And we are back with some Plantation 3-star rum. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks again for having me.
Thanks for coming.
I think you're going to be very happy with this purchase. Now that I know you're a daiquiri gal, it does make an excellent one. And again, you can dial back on the simple, however much.
That is very sweet.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And what's nice is I believe it's a blend of 3 different countries. I want to say Barbados, Trinidad, and maybe a little bit of Jamaica in there.
It says on the bottle, and I think you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds right.
We call that the Trinity of Caribbean rum, but it's super tasty and it makes for an amazing daiquiri. And that's what's nice about daiquiri, right? It's a perfect balancing act. You can make it as tart or as sweet as you want. It's funny, you hear in the bartending circles, especially in like the New Yorks and the San Franciscos, the daiquiri test happens to be one of the biggest tests that they will give to aspiring bartenders that are trying to get into, any of those big, well-known bars out there. So it's fantastic, and this does make it makes for a really nice daiquiri, as does Diplomatico Planas. Mm-hmm. I mentioned that Diplomatico Exclusiva does have a lot of sugar added to it. Planas does not, and it makes a fantastic classic daiquiri, in my opinion. It still maintains that Latin flair. It's crisp, but it's also very flavorful. But what do you think of this? Can you imagine that doing pretty well in a daiquiri?
Oh man, I think it would be delicious, and I particularly love the Hemingway daiquiri. So I think that would be, it would definitely make a delicious daiquiri. So I want to talk more about what you do with the Ohio Rum Society. You do events at different bars, right?
Indeed. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you choose the bar? Do you do a little research and development and test them out to see if they have a good rum list, or what do you usually do?
It starts off with, usually the easiest way to do it is to figure out who has the best rum selections here in town. But it's not just about that. There are several different venues here in town that have expressed interest in working with us, express interest in learning more about rum and seeing what they can do to learn more about it, add to their own armadas. So, for example, Rebecca Monday, who I've known for a long time, and many of us here in the those of us that love craft cocktails here in town, most of us know Rebecca Monday, and if you don't, get to know her.
Yeah.
But she and I are working together right now, enthusiastically working on a future meetup at Vaso, where she is doing some amazing work building up their cocktail program up there in Dublin. And they don't necessarily have a massive rum collection, but they're open to it. Mm-hmm. And that's the wonderful part about Rebecca and about the folks that she works with. So it just kind of happens. What I did recently in planning the rest of 2019 was fire out an email to the bartenders that I do know, the ones that have expressed interest, and saying, here are the folks that we are planning to feature. Here are the special guests that we're going to have in town, whether it's the president of Plantation Rums, the president and founder and key importer of Hamilton Rums, Ed Hamilton, who we had last November. I just mentioned to them, here's what we're doing. Here's some of the themes I have in mind. What are you interested in? Do you guys want to have us back? And which ideas seem to tickle your fancy? So, for example, Sidebar comes from a convoluted yet beautiful Latin American history. And they're interested in working with us and exploring Dominican or rums from the Dominican, specifically Brugal, which is one of my favorites. But really, it's very serendipitous. It's really just utilizing like you guys, it's utilizing my contacts here in town to figure out who wants to work together on what themes, who wants to feature which brands and which special guests. We had an amazing one in September of last year at Denmark in their secret cellar, where it was plantation, but we also featured a master distiller from Barbados, which was super cool.
Oh, nice. We
did it seminar style, where a lot of bartenders, local bartenders, came just to gear up on their arsenal of knowledge as well. But right now, I always keep a pretty solid finger on the pulse of what's going on entrepreneurially here, from an entrepreneur standpoint here in town. The new restaurants, the new cocktail bars. We just had a new tiki bar open up in Powell called Huli Huli that I would love to work with them. We have had conversation with Sacred Palm, which is beneath Mikey's Late Night and their newest location there on North High near the convention center. But it really just starts with working with a single bartender and or his or her their team, and then just going from there.
And you try to weave in some charity stuff too, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of environmental stuff.
Environmental, social plastic is a big one that I love to contribute to. We've contributed to hurricane relief as well. We've teamed up with, it's called All Hands. They work with Norwegian cruise lines they helped in the aftermath of the hurricanes that kicked the crap out of Antigua and Puerto Rico, as we all know. So we like to contribute wherever we can to, because that's the very essence of why we exist. The mission is twofold. Number one, to educate through interaction, through socialization. I love how you guys put it when you first started doing the Bourbon Club, as well as the cocktail endeavor, which is genius. How you guys call it a social experiment lubricated by spirits. I think that's genius. But the second part of our mission is, again, to support local establishments, to proudly showcase the creative talent that we have here, not only from a business ownership standpoint, but also behind the stick. I mean, we have some incredible rock stars here that are doing incredible things. And just like you guys, I feel like Oars is a fantastic way of retaining that talent as much as possible, because, for the longest time, especially I work in the tech world. My day job is I work in cybersecurity and emerging tech. I'm a recruiter, actually. I run an independent firm. And for the longest time, I got so tired of seeing us hemorrhage talent, people going to San Francisco, Boston, the bigger cities where things were really, truly happening, trends were being set. But it's amazing. You look at it now. I've been here for 12 years, and now we're starting to set the trends.
Yeah,
it's pretty incredible. We have a distiller here in town that is putting out the first rum ever produced in Central Ohio, in Chad Kessler over at 451.
We love Chad.
Oh, Chad's amazing. So proudly supporting them. I love tossing business your guys' way. We love supporting 614 Tiki. Again, Rebecca Monday and Greg Burnett. Greg Burnett and his better half, Sarah Rose, are doing some really cool things called Port of Call. Every month they have a different port of call. And I believe they're still doing it at Eugene's Canteen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Eugene's.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of course you are. You guys do the walking tours.
It's our job.
Absolutely. So I really love, it's just a really excellent way to give back to the spirits industry here that have given us so much joy and so much warmth and welcome. I mean, these are people that I not only consider friends, but family, that I would welcome them into my home at any time. In fact, I plan to do that at some point, bringing in the Oars members into our home to literally raid my rum bar, because it's gotten to the point where it's outgrown even our new rum bar. So
careful what you ask for.
I know, right? Hide the really good stuff. No, I'm kidding. That's why we get it.
I will say that what you've done with the Ohio Rum Society is far more altruistic than what we did with the Bourbon Club. I mean, our Bourbon Club really was founded on greed and lust for bourbon more than anything charitable. So maybe we should.
Yeah.
Maybe we should
Yeah,
do
I'll
a little
agree with
more
that.
of that. What do you think?
But it's a wonderful collaboration that you guys do. You guys bring together like-minded individuals, and in fact, I know you guys have so much on your plate right now, but I've been anxiously awaiting, and maybe I should be a little more proactive in my sense. But we really enjoyed that collaboration with the Bourbon Club because
the kindred spirits.
Yeah, absolutely, the kindred
Tasting.
spirits. I mean, we're all fans of brown spirits, but the beauty is here we are. Your listeners can't see it, but we're drinking two. Well, one of them is aged, but these are the Plantation 3-Star. It's a blend of three different rums that some of which, if not all of which, were aged, but then charcoal filtered. That's why you get that beautiful straw color. Mm-hmm. But the Pata Nubes that I brought for everybody here to try, it's unaged, it's rested. And the beauty is we're starting to see more of a rise in people being more excited about the unaged, the white spirits, right?
Right.
So that's super fun too. But I think that could be a lot of fun doing another kindred spirits.
Oh, yeah,
but
we would love that.
Maybe showing the Bourbonites is what I call you guys. Maybe showing them what white spirits do and how much body and character that even white spirits have. And it really obviously lends itself well to the craft of distillation, fermentation, before aging even becomes a part of the equation.
Well, I'm going to rinse my glass out and try this Mexican rum. I've never heard of Mexican rum.
Yeah, let's take a little break, and then we'll jump right back in with a different rum.
Pata Nubes rum is from the Oaxaca region of Mexico, which is obviously closely associated with mezcal, another one of those previously unknown agave spirits, right? And now they're having the time of their lives. They're really having their time in the sun. So Pata Nubes rum was discovered within the last several years. Little did people know, but they were actually producing a rum out there, 100% sugarcane juice, very much similar to a rum agricole style. But this, I think you guys will find, is so incredibly unique that I think the second that you start to nose it, you're going to see exactly why I worked with Barbara and JT to create a rummy riff on the martini.
Oh, that has a very unique nose.
Very, briny, right? You're getting a lot of brine, a lot of fruit.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. That's usually the reaction that you get when you first try this. And truth be told, the first time I tried this, I honestly hated it. And now, that's the beauty of rum, is it is so diverse that it literally expands your palate 20-fold. It's incredible. Some of the rums that I was trying several years ago that I did not like, including this one, because I've never been a briny flavor guy. I've never been a martini guy. I don't like capers. I've never been much of an olive guy either.
Ooh, I love all those.
Right. But what's amazing, though, is that rums like Pata Nubes and Clarin from Haiti, which is another agricole style that is part of Haiti, they're very briny. So they're on the complete opposite side of the spectrum than what most people associate rum with. Most people think rum, they think sweet. People think bourbon, they think sweet. But then when they try a rye, or when they try, because when you think whiskey, you're thinking, for me as a non-whiskey connoisseur, I certainly appreciate whiskeys. The amazing part about rum is that we explore through oars these rums right here that are on a complete opposite end of a spectrum that most people, most consumers especially, even bartenders didn't even know existed. And what's amazing now is that Pata Nubes has now made its way onto our shelves here in Ohio.
Oh, wow.
And so far, we've only played with it once at one meetup, and that was with Barbara and JT over there at Bottle Shop. We called it DTO, which stands for Daiquiri Time Out, the many faces of daiquiris. And during that, we actually explored different types of daiquiris with different types of rums. We did a Clarin daiquiri, which, again, Clarin is a rum agricole style from Haiti. We did a Pata Nubes, and then we also did a rummy riff on a martini using the Pata Nubes and a very dry vermouth for that one. And that was a huge hit. I think they sold...
I could see that.
Yeah, oh yeah. They sold a ton of those that day. And also gave the option of dirty or neat, which was cool. But that's the beauty of this is, again, I mean, you guys right now seeing your reaction, you're like, holy crap, this is cane spirit.
So the nose is very different from the taste.
Yes. Does it make you...
The nose is very briny, as you said. It has a lot of Like it's kind of like smelling an olive jar or something.
Absolutely.
But as soon as you taste it, it tastes to me more like either a White Dog whiskey, an unaged whiskey, or kind of a funky American style gin that
Makes me want to go, arr.
Yeah.
Not a gin fan?
Oh, I love gin.
Okay.
Arr, that was my pirate.
Oh, that was your pirate.
Arr.
Gotcha.
I'm not good at impersonations.
I'd say that was
Arr.
close.
No, I
Arg.
think it's delicious. It's just completely, like you said, totally unexpected.
Totally
It really is
unexpected,
good.
right?
I agree 100%. When you smell it, you think, ooh, I'm not going to like this. And then the taste,
Well, it
It's-
smells almost like
it's sweet.
yeah, but it kind of smells like a overly dirty martini. Like somebody who just put in way too much olive juice.
What
Heavy-handed.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wouldn't have liked it.
That person would probably have a very disheveled pinky, I would imagine. But yeah, that speaks on behalf of what we in the spirits world love about the production methods out
Absolutely.
there. It's not just distillation, it's about the fermentation. In this case, I do believe that it is wild yeast, just like with mezcal. They do employ a 6-plate copper still. And yes, the yeast and the fermentation are wild. It's in pine vats. So, and Haiti does very similar. It's the most natural, organic production process of cane spirits in the world. Actually, it's wild yeast. It's very much like this, and that's why I was excited for you guys to try this, in hopes that I would spur your interest in the future to perhaps have me back again, and I can bring some
absolutely.
Haitian Claire in. I think that would blow you guys'
Now, how
minds.
long have they been making this?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I'm not sure of the
Okay.
answer on that. At least several years. It's at least been on the map of rum connoisseurs for a couple years now.
Okay.
An importer company discovered it. Probably while I think they are actually a mezcal importer, and then they discovered that holy crap, these villages are also making aguardiente, which is beloved in the Spanish-speaking states. And they decided, wow, this is so good. This is so unique. And it does have a place on every back bar, whether you want to do a rummy riff again on martinis, or I love the fact that you likened it to possibly some gin too. So now that you mentioned that spurs in my mind, great, you know what? We can start exploring. I can start working with bartenders to explore rum alternative gin drinks.
Yeah, the gin that it reminds me of is actually the North Shore gin out of Chicago, which is an American style gin that has a lot of black pepper notes to it. And I'm getting a lot of pepper out of this.
Bingo.
But it's not like spicy. It's just that flavor that lingers and kind of pinches your tongue at the end like black pepper does. But it's not like, oh my gosh, that's a spicy jalapeno kind of drink. Not at all.
I've heard people even mention, pink peppercorns. It's amazing when you start reading. Some of my favorite bloggers are from Europe, and especially when you look at the folks that are from England, the associations and how deep they go as far as specifics.
Sure,
it's very reminiscent of if you guys have watched the Sam documentaries out there. It reminds me a lot of that and how specific they get. And I've heard people liken this to pink peppercorns. But also, again, that brine. But, you even mentioned, Leanne, you mentioned that there's a sweet characteristic as well
is.
to it. And
Absolutely.
It's
really
balanced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a tribute to careful yet wild fermentation. It's a tribute to how they configure and employ their 6-plate copper. I think it's a copper column, actually.
And what city is this made in?
This is made in Oaxaca.
Oaxaca.
Yep.
So there's a lot of natural yeast in Oaxaca. There's a lot of natural yeast in Kentucky, which is one of the reasons that it's considered to be one of the best places to make whiskey.
And also corn was so ubiquitous and so cheap and easy to grow there, which is another thing that I love about whiskey is that it is basically rum. The New World was basically built upon sugar and therefore cane spirits as well. And what's amazing is that once we won the American Revolutionary War, true America started kicking in. We started exploring. We started going across the Appalachians and setting up new colonies, new business, right? You had a lot of Scots and a lot of Irishmen coming, going as far west as they could to set up shop, right? To set up their stills, to set up their farms. And, back then it didn't make sense to try and haul these massive barrels of rum, across the Appalachians. But rather, you know what? Corn is so ubiquitous out here. Let's start to distill whiskey out of corn, because it is absolutely delicious, but it's also cost effective in these regions. So rum essentially passed the spirits torch of America to whiskey, and therefore made whiskey the first native spirit of the United States of America. Whereas to me, there's a huge argument out there that rum and cane spirits were the first and the true spirit of 1776 and of the Americas, of the New World as we know it. And then, of course, whiskey is the spirit of the United States of America, which is cool.
That's interesting. I never knew that. So you have something else in your bag?
I do. This is the crown jewel for you guys. This is unopened. This was sitting in my cellar.
Wow.
I just picked up one of these, and also its younger brother, the 2005. So this beauty for the viewers, especially for a lot of bourbonites out there, they're getting more and more familiar. At least they're hearing more about Foursquare Distilling Company down there in Barbados. Barbadian rums traditionally are considered mid-body. They're considered dry, crisp, yet solid-bodied in terms of flavor. They really do a good job. They're craftsmen when it comes to the aging process, but they're also craftsmen when it comes to true blending. At Foursquare, they have a beautiful pot still, double retort, with also column stills as well, I believe 2. And what they do is they create these beautiful rums out of their pot still, and then beautiful rums out of their column still, and then they blend the two. Actually, I believe, depending on what rum expression they're looking to make, oftentimes they'll age them separately and then blend them and then age them more. In this case, this is the Foursquare Exceptional Cask Series 2004. This was actually my ground zero in getting introduced into the Foursquare distillery and the magic that they're making down there in Barbados. A lot of the biggest rum bloggers out there right now, a lot of the biggest rum aficionados were once bourbonites, much like you guys, some of which I keep in touch with personally. And again, the whole purpose of Oars isn't to convert people to rum drinking. It's really just to open their minds to this massive world that they didn't know that they were missing.
Sure.
And I don't know if you guys saw the article that I posted earlier today about how supply and demand, of course, and how aging is placing a higher premium price tag wise on especially whiskeys, cognacs. It's becoming kind of a burden on the common consumer wallet. Well, the beauty of this is this 2004 was aged 11 years in ex-bourbon casks. It's a blend of pot and column blend, pot and column still down there in Barbados, aged for the full 11 years in the Caribbean climate, which is roughly 3 to 4 times faster than aging in Kentucky or parts of Scotland or parts of France. So in terms of value, it's incredible that this only cost me, I think, about $60 retail.
Oh, wow.
So I brought this here because, again, this exact expression, this 2004, which it's about to sell out, actually, is essentially what is getting a lot of it's getting the attention of many bourbon drinkers, especially here in the U.S., and it's starting to help create more of a ripple effect in the U.S., which, as we all know, the market here for rum is still very volatile. It's still very questionable, but because of rums like this and many others from many other different rum producing countries out there, it's creating a ripple effect. And again, the whole point of Oars is to create an access point so people can learn more about them. So, the bourbon heads and the tequila folks can come here and be like, hey, I really want to expand my palate. I want to expand my arsenal in my home bar. Or if you're a professional bartender, I want to expand my arsenal in my back bar. Introduce me to these things, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why I brought this. Again, Foursquare Rum Distillery, 2004 single blended rum.
Where it says full proof, is that another way to say, like whiskey would say, cask strength? Does that mean it hasn't been watered down at all?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So this is 59%. Okay. So again, another reason why the true bourbon fans love a lot of these cask strength series coming out of Foursquare. Jamaica's producing a lot of them out of Hampton Estate and Worthy Park, 2 legendary distilleries there in Jamaica. I could go on and on about the distilleries and the ones that are really creating a lot of vocalization in the spirits world. But I think you guys are going to really, really dig this.
Well, while you're opening that, or you can have Blair open that if you like. Tell us more about your meetups with the oars.
And that's the wonderful part, and hence the reason I've enjoyed this experience with you guys so much. And I really look forward to hopefully coming back and talking more about cane spirits and trying more different ones that you guys, again, I think I would love to see those same reactions that I got out of you guys twice just now. But the amazing thing is there's so much to talk about, so much to explore. And in that same spirit, the Ohio Rum Society now, we're 2.5 years in. We'll be celebrating our 3rd anniversary in August of this year. And in doing such, we just had our 28th meetup. We call it Chapter 28, and that was actually at 451 Distillery, or 451 Spirits, rather, with Chad Kessler as our first ever on-site at a distillery. We saw an active fermentation. We got to taste it. But that was number 28, and that was actually at our 12th unique venue so far, just here in Central Ohio. So that's something that we pride ourselves in, and there's so many more to explore. I mean, I'm in talks with Vaso. Hopefully, we'll be exploring meetups at Huli Huli and Sacred Palm here soon. I love what you guys did at the Soul at the Joseph. I think I saw quite a few rums on their back bar as well. But that's the beauty of rum, again, is that I don't see any end in sight. The beauty is I dove into this in November of 2012, and I'm still learning on a daily basis. I'm nowhere near expert level, nor do I want to be. I want to keep learning, and that's the beauty of rum, is that with it being such a global spirit, new rums pop up every day. One of the biggest ones right now, that, as an example, is a rum that is being distilled out of a distillery called Moba down in South Africa, and it is kicking ass in terms of ester levels. The folks that love that funk, that uniqueness, like the folks that love peaty, the folks that love like Lefroy's, right? That's not for everybody. And I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right at this point, but the conversation is everlasting. It's going to continue to evolve. And that's why we're so excited with Oars, is that as we continue to grow, we have 55 annual members, and we have over 450 Ohio-based members across the state right now that are continuing to join the conversation, asking questions, sharing recipes, sharing articles. But what's cool is that we're starting to now get people traveling to Central Ohio just to come to meetups.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And they'll post up in hotels, which is really neat. And I do want to also add, from a membership standpoint, again, I do welcome those to come as guests and just pay the $10. And I welcome you to think about it. If you feel like you got the value out of it that I promise you, if you decide to become an annual member, I will put that $10 towards your annual membership. So you just pay the difference.
So I still want to collaborate with you on a rum board game, but will you be mad if I include pirates and ships and like pots of gold and stuff?
Absolutely not. Not as long as you diversify. If there's an end to that where you see some gentlemen in tuxedos drinking rum, I'm 100%.
All right, I'll
board.
do that. I'll fit that in somewhere.
I'll have to show you some old advertisements from the heyday of rum. The last time rum had a renaissance was during and shortly after Prohibition, and right after, also, of course, with the tiki surge after World War II. I should show you guys some of the old advertisements of how they used to advertise rum. Because the beauty of the Prohibition was that people started going down to what they called America's Backyard Tavern, Cuba. And the Latin style, the Latin swagger to that, they gave new life. They breathed new life into the image of rum by making it more of a gentleman's drink again, a classy ladies and gentlemen drink, which was super cool. And that's, again, what I try to do is I try to enlighten people to the newer image of cane spirits nowadays, because, when I was interviewed for 614 magazine, they insisted that we do the photo shoot, which I didn't want to do in general, but they insisted that we do it at Grass Skirt. And while I would have loved to, because Grass Skirt is where we had our first meetup, their family, I love Carmen over there. I know you guys featured her here. I consider her sister from another mister, but I insisted on doing it elsewhere. We ended up doing it in Denmark, just to show people, again, it's not about just tiki. It's not just about pirates. It is just as classy and stands up on its own, right up there with the cognacs and the whiskeys.
Yeah, it definitely does. I'm a convert.
I would love to collaborate with you guys on that. I think that would be so fun. And I love what you guys did with the bourbon run. Thought that was super cool. And I think it could be fun to do a cane spirits.
It would be, for sure. Let's get on that.
Next.
All right. Tell us about how people can become a member of the Ohio Rum Society.
Super simple. There are two ways to do it. So, when I started Oars back in August of 2016, it was really just an outlet. I was driving my wife crazy with this passion, and not to mention with taking up not one, but 2 bars in our, back then it was a very small ranch style, standalone condo. She was like, honey, you really need to find an outlet for this passion. You need to share it with folks here in the city. So I started it as a Facebook group. Ideally, those of us that love spirits and cocktails as much as those of us in this room, in an ideal world, right? Bartending and opening up a bar would be easy as pie, but we all know it's one of the hardest, if not the hardest things to do and survive, right? So ideally, I have dreams of starting a colonial era tavern that focuses not only on rums, but also local spirits and a couple other concepts from Europe. But the next idea, the next viable, the most reasonable option, next best option, if you will, is to start a Facebook group. It started off again with 5 to 10 friends and family, basically, that I kind of forced into it because I said, hey, this is a hobby that I've been diving into now for several years. But to answer your question, people can go to our Facebook group. I usually welcome people to the Facebook group. You can join by answering 3 very simple questions. Whenever you ask to join, you answer the questions. And that tells me that you're joining for a reason. It tells me a little bit about you so that I can introduce myself when you do make it to a future meetup. But I always welcome people to join the Facebook group first, to look at our past events. There is a tab on Facebook groups now where you can look at past and upcoming events. But I always welcome people that are curious to look at our past events and see how creative we get, see the different themes that we explore, the featured guests that we bring into town from out of state and sometimes out of country. Look at those things and then also start diving into, it's a repository of information, whether it's me or other rum members, sharing different rum articles from around the world, or if they're sharing their own personal recipes. For example, I did my own riff on a sidecar that features a cane spirit. A lot of us like to share our home cocktail recipes, and same with professional bartenders as well. So I welcome one and all to come to the Ohio Rum Society group page. It's the group, not the business page, on Facebook. And just explore, see if it's something if these are the types of people that you really want to mingle with and learn from. And then you can, I welcome anybody to come to meetups. People can come to meetups with one of 2 options. One, you can pay a $10 guest fee. Or number 2, you can join as an annual Oars member, and that's $50 a year. And it renews 12 months from the day that you join. I usually tell people, come for a meetup, pay $10. And then give it some thought. If you really enjoyed it, if you felt that you got the wealth of knowledge that we set out to offer to folks, not to mention all the rums you get to taste and the fellow craft cocktail folks that you get to meet and befriend.
That's a huge bargain.
Absolutely. And that's essentially, as I've told you before, and I want to make it clear to the listeners as well, that Leanne and Blair were 2 huge inspirations and very helpful in giving me the confidence to get this off the ground. But we keep it at an affordable $50 because for the same reason that makes rum so beautiful is that it is very affordable. There's a 12-year-old rum right out there right now that's available on Ohio shelves. It's $35. It's aged for all 12 of its years in Jamaica, and it's only $35. So we try and do that same exact. In that same exact spirit, we want to be as accessible and affordable as possible so that people aren't worried about the money aspect of it, but they can just be excited to meet new people.
That's great.
And, whether they're, again, we have a lot of people that love craft cocktails that join for that reason. Yeah. We have a lot of people that are huge fans of brown spirits, whether it's aged cognacs or aged whiskeys, that are just like, I just want to try something new. Mm-hmm. Or we've been getting a lot of agave spirits folks here recently because they've heard through the grapevine that I love agricultural style spirits. I love unaged spirits too, because you really get the essence of the production, oftentimes of the geographic origin as well. And cheers to you guys on this. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. You're welcome.
Oh, wow.
I'm waiting in anxious anticipation.
That is delicious.
And the one that I was going to bring was actually double matured. It was called Dominus. It's also from Foursquare. They age it. It's a 12-year-old. They age it partially in ex-bourbon and partially in ex-cognac, and then they blend the two. That's a beautiful expression, and it's actually a bottle that's signed by the master blender and distiller Richard Seal himself, who's a huge voice in the rum community right now. But I opted on this one just because I hadn't opened it yet, and I felt that no greater opportunity than now to open it with two folks that I consider friends of mine, longtime friends of mine, that we all have a mutual affinity for not only spirits, not only craft cocktails, but also, the wonderful bartenders that we all call friends now here in the city and in the surrounding regions too.
Absolutely.
I know you guys enjoy traveling to Louisville. I don't know if you guys have been to Lexington. That's an amazing little city down there too. But I felt that if I was going to share this with anybody, it made a lot of sense to share it with you.
Well, thank you.
guys.
It's absolutely delicious. I really like it.
It makes me want to smoke a cigar and sit on a beach.
Oh yeah,
isn't it? It like transports you to a beach for some reason. I don't know. Is it just me, or am I just longing for a beach? But it's like,
I think we after this Ohio winter, which we all knew we were in for this at some point, I think we're all longing for patio weather and beaches at this point. But that is the beauty of rum, is that there's no right or wrong way to enjoy it. There's no right or wrong way, no right or wrong occasion or season to drink it. Again, that when we talked about earlier how I've been quoted as saying it is one of the most underappreciated and misunderstood spirits. By that, I meant a lot of the fact that it has this image problem where people think pirates, beaches, boat drinks, blenders, those words that tend to make me kind of shiver, not because I hate the association, but because it makes me sad that people are missing out on so many great spirits and so many different ways to imbibe them. And the beauty of this is, I would be just as happy fireside later tonight drinking this.
Oh yeah.
With my, with our German Shepherd puppy and my wife, as I would be as well on a patio, smoking a cigar on our screened-in porch, with the woods as a backdrop. You know what I mean? There's no right. It's amazing because rum knows no season, it knows no connoisseur, it knows no occasion or backdrop. It's amazing in that sense that you can really enjoy it anytime, anywhere.
It's really delicious. And we're honored that you chose to open this bottle with us. It's really wonderful.
It is absolutely my pleasure. So the other thing that I brought for you guys as well, this is a book. It's called Rum Curious. It's written by Fred Minnick. Are you guys familiar with the author Fred Minnick? He's very well known in the bourbon circles. He is a bourbonite. He's written at least one other, if not several books on the topic of bourbon. And this guy, ever since being introduced, and unfortunately, guys, I don't have $700 laying around, but what turned him on to rum and what made him a huge fan of rum and therefore rum curious was the fact that he actually got turned on to Foursquare 2006, which if you ever do a Google search for finding Foursquare's 2006 blended rum on the aftermarket, it's so expensive, but that's essentially what has turned a lot of bourbonites into rum fans as well. And Fred Minnick tells his story in this book, but he also shares from a very unbiased standpoint why, if you're a true connoisseur of whiskey or a true fan of agave spirits or any spirits in general, cognac, agave spirits, any type of whiskey, or even if you just love wine and you want to learn more about origins of spirits like a fresh pressed cane juice based raw material rum. Fred Minnick does an excellent job of making a strong case for that. So I would love to
that's wonderful.
lend this to you guys because I think you guys would enjoy it. And I think it'll shed some additional light and give you guys a better idea as to what kind of led me down the rabbit hole several years ago.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks
for sharing.
We love to read about spirits. It's our favorite subject.
One of my favorite photos of that you guys have ever taken was that photo of you reading Imbibe upside down. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't get the joke. I got it, and I loved it. I thought it was perfect.
I appreciate that. Well, Chad, thanks so much for coming, and thanks for being part of our podcast. I know you have a very packed schedule.
Thanks for doing what you do here in town.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys for the inspirations. I mean, you guys are such a creative force, especially together and individually. We in the spirits industry love seeing what you guys are doing as well. But thank you on a personal note to me for your guys' inspiration. Thanks for meeting with me on that awesome day there at Blind Lady Tavern, telling me about your guys' endeavors and basically making me feel like, hey, take your passion, throw it through a creative outlet, and have some fun with it, because that's the best way to not only there's a lot to be said through, the fulfillment of educating people on something that, even though I have no skin in the game, I'm not a distiller, I'm not a bartender, but it's amazing to say that, hey, I've helped put certain Oars has helped put certain bars on the map, much like you guys have done with the cocktail tours. So you guys have been a huge inspiration for that. So cheers.
Okay. Yeah. Cheers. Well, thank you again. And so let's see, a little bit of business before we leave. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Tell your friends to listen to our podcast. Please rate us and review us. Thank you to Greg Hansberry, our wonderful producer. And thank you to the biographer for our original music. Be sure to check out our website at columbuscraftcocktailtour.com for all of our events, all the things we've got going on, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at, what is that? I always forget.
C-Bus Craft Cocktail Tour.
Yeah, okay. All right. And Blair?
Yeah, always remember to drink responsibly, tip appropriately, and always be cocktail curious.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.